Hello my fellow gamers and welcome once again to Perafilozof City Skylines videos. In this one I will be continuing to build up the city in which I plan to reach 1 million population on the hard mode. The city is called Bedrock, and in the previous few episodes I have almost reached for the first time 100,000 population. I'm currently at 99,000, 93, 99,012. So in just a few more minutes I will probably reach the 100,000. In here at the last tile that I started building up, I had built up some more services, elementary school for the new residential areas, a medical clinic and a crematorium to have a good coverage onto this area here. In the last video I also had started having problems with my income. My income dropped around 10,000 from what I had before, mostly because of the metros, which I will probably have to think about which ones could be turned off because they're just costing way too much. And there are some other services which may end up having been restructured and create a bit less of an expense. As we see here, I have reached a commercial area, which means that the next is going to be industrial. I just haven't checked whether or not I will get a cross street, and I could get a cross street here. If this one was going from right to left, this one could start from left to right. It can go very close to the existing zones, and the ramps don't snap like the streets do, so you have to be careful if you're using a design like I am not to mess up your zoning when you're adding these ramps to the streets. Now these streets over here aren't meant to connect to anything yet because this area is empty, so I don't really have to care if the street doesn't match up to it. I can just, if the ramp doesn't match up to the streets, I can delete them. So what kind of industry? I tried building more of forestry industry in this area up here. I still have only over-educated people employed, so that isn't the best idea. And I did that because I wanted to reduce the amount of imports for forestry, but you can see that even the buildings that are producing, what do you call it, half raw, half made goods out of wood, are importing forestry resources. So there's just no point in trying to reduce the imports of forestry goods by building up more forestry. So I will just keep to building more industry. The way to reduce these goods and to reduce the import is to balance the industry better. If you take a look over these areas, well, maybe they're most easily noticed like this. The exports are happening because I have way too much industry. On a lot of these places I have two lines of industry, and it turns out this is way too much compared to how much commercial demand I have. Now the commercial demand isn't very well balanced because the first area of the city is kind of different than the second and even the third. I had added a whole line of commercial here next to this edge and next to this edge, but this still doesn't seem to cover all the demand for commercial. So I will have to think on those zones as well, and where exactly could I add more. But in any event, here would be generic industry, and that's 4x4 in these areas, like this. Now, if these zones are willing, they will create nice 4x4 buildings, and so far it looks like that's gonna happen. Alright, this one here might not be 4x4, but a little bit different, but that's still okay. I'm just building one area of industry, and I will mark this as a new district. For some reason the district tool makes my game jump around. I'm not sure, is it just because there is the fact that I'm using speed 3, and it could be that that is why it has a problem with zones and districts, but as you saw now the game jumped again even at speed 1, so there is still some issue with when I'm using the district tool, the game shutters for some reason. It only started happening now that I have so much of the city filled, so I believe it's something with the engine. Nothing that I can solve on my end, that's probably something with the game itself. If you have a similar problem, you could tell me in the comment section if you have found a solution on your PC. In any event, in this area I will continue doing the smoke detector distribution, although I have been rethinking this as well. because I am almost at 10,000 cost for weekly policies, and most of this comes from the policy for smoke detector distribution. I haven't seen many buildings burned down except some of the forestry here that here. As you can see, always a forestry building burning down. So only those end up burning down, but the generic industry almost never burns down. I may have one here in some of the previous episodes, but very rarely. So I've been thinking about actually disabling those policies and saving up some money. But for now, I'm not in that much of a hurry to save money, so I will keep using this policy. In any event, this is industry, it's popping up, even though I'm probably still short of workers, about 3,000 workers short. Industry, after which comes the commercial area, 4x4 of course, and after that an area of offices, 4x4. Now you may notice these zones here are kind of messed up. What I'm going to try and do is bulldoze these streets and rebuild them and see if the zones are still going to be messed up like that. You see, now this has moved down, and if I were to rebuild it once more, no problem with the zones. So same thing here, and it's probably gonna move down, and then I rebuild it. Actually, not this time it didn't work, but this time it worked. I think it has something to do with the terrain affecting how the streets are built, and then how the zones off of those streets are built, these zonable squares. So if you have a problem with squares and zones, all you need to do is bulldoze a part of the road and rebuild it, and it should make the zones proper once more. So now I can rebuild these here and pop them back in. As I said, the next one are the offices, 3x3, and of course I will try to play at speed 3 in order to speed up the building of the city. I know it's almost at episode 40, this could be episode 40 actually, so I have spent a lot of time and not gained even 100,000 population, which I think I will gain in a few moments if the number keeps going up. So the commercial sector and the offices are up, and this will become a new district. Now again, the same problem when I'm creating a district after an already created one. Sometimes it destroys the previous one, so I have to remake it after building the one after it. Alright, and here the policy for big business benefactor. I think this is probably what's keeping me afloat at the moment, because this policy, even though it costs 4C per high density commercial building, it creates far more in taxes in returns. So it's a very good thing. And it's a good thing that it costs per high density commercial building, so even though I might have offices in this district, it doesn't cost me per office buildings, just per the commercial building, which of course makes sense if the whole idea of the policy is to influence the commercial buildings. Alright, and this is all up. Now the generic industry will require some more services in order to level up. I need to check out if... And here we go, 100,000 population, finally. So just 900,000 more. And probably another 200 episodes before I reach that number. Like I said, I'll try playing at speed 3 to have this speed up. Alright, so I'm up to here. With the offices, I can turn this into a residential area, and soon I will need some two-way, two-lane streets. I guess here is a good place as any. This would go like this. Hopefully it won't mess up the offices, although I think it already has. Pretty annoying, but it's something I will have to live with. Let's try and bulldoze these streets now and see if I can get better zonable areas. Still some problems as far as I can see. Yeah, the zoning onto a two-way, two-lane pretty much messes up the zones, but I sometimes just have to have those as well to have a better flow of traffic. So it's something that I will just have to live with here. Again, I will give up on trying to not zone onto the traffic flow streets, because I'm just wasting so much space, and it doesn't seem to provide as many problems as it did maybe before in the older parts of the city. so I'll keep zoning right next to the actual traffic flow streets. Alright, and this looks good. What I wanted to do was to check the traffic and increase the coverage by these bus stops. I need this blue line, which is the internal line for this part of the city, to continue up there and have new stations here on the right side for the industry to level up more easily, because it will have access to public transportation. There should also be a metro stop by now here, and I'm trying to not place them in the residential zones. I think there could be just enough space here for a metro stop to fit. Excellent. It can fit right here in the commercial and industrial area. So that's good news. I won't have to increase the noise pollution in the residential area. I think I'm going to pull down both of these lines, both the blue and the red. That should provide good coverage from these metro lines in this area. Just need to try and catch the blue line so I can pull a station here. Excellent. Now from here I could have added another connection with this one, but I don't think it's necessary at the moment. The industry will go abandoned until it levels up and then requires highly educated workers. That's totally understandable. I can probably just bulldoze it and wait for it to require better educated workers. I am still short a few thousand workers, so the balance needs to be further checked out across the city. Now let me see about these other areas. Same thing. I probably placed too much industry in this area here, and in this one here, and in this one here. That's why I started using just one line of industry here. I guess this could be fixed if I were to expand the residential zone here into the office area, the commercial area into the previous generic industry area. I know it's pretty annoying that I have to keep redoing these zones, which you hope that I was done with, but it is simply necessary if I want the city to be properly balanced and not to have too many problems. Let's see here, this would be 3 deep, but I think I need to go 3 deep everywhere in order to make sure there is enough space here to dampen the noise pollution away from the commercial area, the one that's coming off the commercial and industrial areas, and not get into the residential areas. So this should reduce the amount of workers necessary for the industry and increase the amount of workers that come up to live in these buildings here. 101,000, almost 102,000 population. That's excellent. There is more room here for industry, but I'm trying to keep the industry away from the traffic flow streets, because I believe that the industry requires way more of the actual traffic to visit it, and therefore I'm trying to keep it away from the traffic flow streets. Let's see, down here, have I forgotten anything? Nope. All the areas are covered by districts, although this one I had changed up, so now this is also in the residential area. Alright, now that this has been rebalanced, it will take a while for the buildings to go up again. The commercial demand is still at medium, the industrial is at low, but there is no demand for residential, which is why these buildings are not popping up. I'm not sure why does it take so long for the residential demand to go up. I think the developers made it on purpose so that people wouldn't be able to ruin their cities by zoning way too much before they can actually support that population. But for us who played this game a lot, that has become annoying and slows down the game way too much. It should be possible that on the hard mode some of those things are changed, and you can zone a lot more and have a lot more commercial, residential and industrial demand. Alright, so what else can I do here? If I am still missing a lot of workers, I can't zone any more offices and commercial areas in here. I can take a look at the connections. This is an on-ramp for the highway. I should probably get one in here as well, if at all possible. Let's see. Are you gonna go up? No, the park is in the way. Can the park be moved? It can be moved, at least a little bit. Let's try now. There we go, another on-ramp, excellent. So I have 1, 2, then a lot of this area does not have an on-ramp, which I find rather annoying. But there is this problem where I'm too close for a ramp to be built. And none of these streets will support a ramp because it needs to go really high. And this is a valley compared to, for example, off of here, I could probably easily build ramps, but from here, because it's a valley, and even at just one step up on the highway, it's hard for these areas to connect as an on-ramp, especially here where it's so close to the highway, these roads. So nothing to do but wait for the residential demand to come up. I can take a look at my other services and their consumption. Utilities, I mean, are very good. Yeah, I could take a look at the metros now that I have time and turn off some of them to save some money. Let's see, like this. For example, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 metro stations in this quadrant here, and I believe that one of them is superfluous. I sometimes try to learn some new English words, and sometimes it's hard for me to pronounce them. So superfluous should mean that it's unnecessary and too much. So I think I can turn off this one here, or maybe I should turn off this one that is on the end. It's probably getting less usage than this one over here. 10 times less usage. So yeah, I'll be turning off this one. That should save me some money. Let's see over here. I could probably just go around the city and see which ones do not have a lot of usage. For example, this one is just used by 63. I mean, it could be down to the fact that there's just one line going through here, and that is why it's used so little. For example, this one here is connected to like 3 or 4 lines, therefore its usage is far higher, and it went even higher now that I turned off that one. So like I said, I'm going to turn off a few of these to try and save some money, and they are obviously not being used as much as some of the others. Let's see over here. I believe I saw at least one that could be turned off. For example, this one. In here, perhaps this one. 265, 38, look at it, just 38. Yeah, definitely can be turned off without any consequences. Let's see over here, 61, 190, 948. So you could definitely turn off a few of them over here as well. For example, I have this one here, and this one here, and this one here, and this one here. So let's say I turn off passengers last week, 0. Really? 0? Definitely turning this one off. In here I have just enough, each one is in the middle, so there shouldn't be any one that's superfluous. If I'm using this word incorrectly, please tell me. I would be embarrassed to keep using it if I'm not using it properly. Let's see here, 377, 490, 230, so these ones are used. 100, 106, 210. I will not turn off any here, but I think this should have saved me up some of the money. See, I'm now down to 19,000 cost for the metro system, and I'm earning around 20,000, so it's almost paying off for itself. Interestingly enough, the buses, which cost me 1,000, bring back almost 4,500, while the metros, which cost almost 19,000, bring back around 16,000 in profits. Huh. How about that? I wonder just how many buses is this. I think my bus depot is here. Just 162 buses. And what does this thing say? Let's see. 3,900 use the buses and 7,400 use the metros. Let's see here, still no demand for residential, so nothing is building up. I wonder, did this industry level up? Yeah, let's see, 2, 3, no 3 levels, but at least at level 2. That's okay. The coverage from parks, I think all I would need is just one more park here, and that would create all the coverage necessary, but I won't build one here for now. I could get another off-ramp off of the highway here, if I can get one to build. Let's see, it should go on this road, so let's say over here. Excellent, very good. And how's the traffic in this city? This street here is terrible, and I think I just saw despawning. Yep, I saw some despawning. So this one definitely needs to be changed if they're despawning. Let's see what could be done about this. So these are the ones that come in through here and then turn down and then go up. So how about I delete this entire ramp, give them a way to go into this one from here. From here then they can go into this one here, and from here into this ramp here, instead of going down through here and entering this area through here. The problem with the traffic is that you're never entirely sure who's going where and doing what. There's probably a lot of inner city transport for these goods to be delivered to the shops. I was kind of hoping that I would have like enough generic industry here to cover the needs of all the commercial buildings in this area and so forth in any area, but that would require some really high level math to make sure and see just how much goods does every single of these buildings produce. And then again, it's probably a good question, could you force a building to export the goods or just to keep sending them to the commercial areas in its area, and not, for example, have a whole bunch of them export from here their entire production, while the ones here would be sending their goods to the commercial areas here. The game should be smart enough on its own to do this, but then again, it might not be. That's a very good question. My education, 7% uneducated, 17% educated, well educated 47%, and 29% are highly educated. I did turn off that one university, the one over here, because I had far too much capacity. The number of eligible sims has gone up, but still not even close to the capacity. Well, over here I would need probably around 4 more high schools in order to have enough capacity for all my sims to go to a high school. As for the elementaries, I'm kinda just above the need. So 4 more high schools, and each one costs 700. Yet the coverage good looks pretty good. Honestly, I'm not sure that this would be both fiscally responsible and necessary for the city to operate properly. It's a good question just how many of each level of education is necessary. I think I was talking about this in one of the previous videos, that I would love to be able to see just how many or at least what is the percentage of people and which education level that my city needs, so that I know what do I need to build. The fact that they're eligible doesn't actually mean that the industry needs them to be educated at that level. Still no residential demand, but you see here that I've increased up to 102,000 population, yet without any residential need, because these old buildings that I had placed in the previous episodes are getting filled almost to their maximum capacity, which is their actual maximum capacity. Even though it might say 9 out of 10, it almost never goes up to 10. It stays at about the 80 to 90% of the maximum capacity. There is a mod to fix this, but it would throw away the balance that I already have far too much, so I can't really use that mod on an already built city. If I start building a new one, I will probably try and use that mod and see how it goes with it. I see a few more buildings have managed to build up here and even fill up with almost their maximum amount of households, but it may take a while more for these buildings to go up, as I do not have any residential demand at the moment. I seem to be losing population and then gaining depending on the day of the week. Interestingly enough, I had 400 birds in the previous video, yet in this one I have below 350. Number of jobs is almost at 56,000, yes, yet my employees are at 51,700. So that's like a 4,000 differential. There is way too many jobs, and I will have to do something about that. This industry area here will have to go out the window, so to speak. This will become high density commercial. The high density commercial will become the offices. And then the offices will become more residential areas. This will of course have to be done in the districts as well, so this district is expanded here. The industrial buildings need to be remade into a new district. Return the policy for smoke detector distribution. This one already has big business benefactor, but the residential district has to be expanded here. Alright. Now the buildings may not go up anytime soon, but at least I will be reducing the amount of industry. That will reduce the imports, it will reduce the exports, the traffic in general, and it will reduce the amount of jobs that I need to fill. The balance is kind of hard to get right, especially when I have areas of the city which are built very differently, especially because I had to start somewhere. If I had started with unlimited money and everything unlocked, it would be easier to achieve a balance. But when a city grows from nothing pretty much, later on it becomes harder and harder to reach a proper balance. As I keep playing, I will have to probably redo some of these areas at some point. Interestingly enough, no high density buildings are coming up here, still no residential demand. Well, in any event, I think I spent pretty much enough time for this video. I have managed to gain 100,000 population and keep it. So thank you all for watching, and please stay tuned for more.